but it's not a century. Year 200 is divisible by 4. It's not a it's not a leap year. Year 300 is also divisible by 4, but it's not a leap year. But year 400 is a leap year. So every fourth century would be a leap year, otherwise it would be a non-leap year. So if I talk about first 100 years, first century, in first century, how many ordinary years would be there and how many leap years would be there? Because the year 100 is not a leap year. So if I divide by 4, it will be 25. But 25 leap years are not there because year 100 is not a leap year. That means only 24 leap years and 76 non-leap year. Will be having 76 non-leap years and 24 leap years. So that is the story for the year 100. What about next century? Same. Third century? Same. But the fourth century, the year 400 will be leap year. As a result, we'll have 75 non-leap year plus 25 leap years. So in the fourth century, we'll be having 75 leap years, 75 non-leap years and 25 leap years. Now, you know that in a non-leap year, ordinary year, we have 365 days in total, whereas a leap year has 366 days. That means it is 52 weeks plus 2 days, and it is 52 weeks plus 1 day. And this 1 day or 2 days, any days which are other than the normal weeks, they called odd number of days. Days apart from multiples of 7. Days apart from weeks, they're called odd days. So we have 2 odd days in leap year, and in non-leap year, we have only 1 odd day. That is the concept of odd days. So note it down. That means if I want to count how many odd days are there in the first century, I can figure it out. 76 into 1, because every non-leap year has 1 odd day, and 24 into 2, because in a leap year, yeah, there are 2 odd days. So what is the total coming out to be? 76 plus 48, right? How much is this? 124. 124 means how many weeks? 17 weeks. And how many odd days? 5. So there are 5 odd days in the first century. The first century, there were 5 odd days. Now, there's a table by which you can know if odd days are 0, what will be the day? If odd days are 1, what will be the day? And this is like this. 0 odd days, 1 odd day, 2 odd days, 3 odd days, 4, 5, and 6. Because the moment it's 7, we'll say this 1 week complete. So it will be 0 odd days. The number of odd days are in the first row, and this is the day. It is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So the odd number of days will decide the day. So if you have 5 odd days, if the number of odd days are 5 in the first century, it means the last day of the century, first century, was Friday. The last day of the first century was Friday. That means the people must have celebrated. They must have had 3 days holiday. Friday was 31st, and then First and second word Saturday, Sunday, Chutti. So 5 odd days means the day is Friday. That means the last day of the first century was Friday, and the first day of the second century was Monday. First day of the second century was Monday. It's clear to you? Now let's talk about century, second century. The second century also we have 76 non-leap year, 24 leap year. The story is the same only, 5 odd days. But remember that whenever you calculate the total number of odd days, it'll be right from the beginning. The 5 odd days of the second century, 5 odd days for the first century, that 10 days, that means 1 week plus 3 odd days. At the end of second century, at the end of second century, total days are 10. So 1 week can remove, and only 3 days would be odd days. That means the last day of the second century was Wednesday. Can tell me what will be the last day of third century and the fourth century? Yes, in a leap year, there are 2 odd days. That is why I multiplied 24 into 2. Because the year, in the first century, there are 24 leap years, so 24 into 2.
Sir, at the top, you have written by mistake. You have written it opposite.
Oh, so now you find out at the end, what is the last day of the third century and what is the last day of fourth century. Do it yourself. Find the last day of the third century and the last day of the fourth century.
So Monday.
Okay, so 5 odd days, 5 odd days, 5 odd days. That means at the end of third century, you have 15 days. 15 days means 2 weeks plus 1 day. So 1 odd day is there. 1 odd day means the last day would be Monday. So this is the last day of third century. Last day of third century is Monday. So now we find out the last day of fourth century. So what will be the last day of fourth century? Fourth century situation is slightly different. So every fourth century is a leap year. So 75 non-leap years, so 75 into 1 and 25 into 2. So it would be how many? 125 days. 125 means 17 weeks plus 6 odd days. Is it? So for the last century, it would be 5 for the first century, 5 for the second, 5 for the third, and 6 for the fourth century. So how much is this? 5, 15 plus 6, 21. So 21 means 3 weeks. It will be 0 odd day. So after the fourth century, it is a 0 odd day. That means the Sunday was the last day of fourth. So now the story will repeat again. If you talk about century 500, if you talk about fifth century, again you start from here because you come to zero. So again, the last day of the fifth century would be Friday, sixth century, Wednesday, and so on. The cycle will repeat. So after every fourth century, cycle repeats. That means Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. They can never be the last day of any century. You might come across a question, which day cannot be the last day of a century? The last day of a century cannot be Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. You can note it down. So the last day of a century can never be Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. These 3 days can never be last day of a century. Now, if the question is which days cannot be the first day of a century, answer this. Which days cannot be the first day of a century? Anyone? Which days cannot be the first day of a century? Sunday can be last day of a century. That means the first day next century could be Monday. The Monday is also the last day of a century. It could be last day of a century. That means Tuesday can be first day of a century. But since Tuesday is never the last day of a century, that means Wednesday cannot be the first day of a century. So Wednesday cannot be first day of a century. Thursday can be first day because the last day of a century would be Wednesday. But since Thursday cannot be the last day of a century, that means Friday cannot be the last day of a century. And similarly, Sunday cannot be the last day of a century. Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday cannot be the last. Yes, Malaika, you're right. Sunday, Wednesday, Friday cannot be last day of a century. This way you can answer questions on calendars. Suppose a question that we have a calendar of the year 2000. We have calendar of year 2003. Now, which year would have the same, which year could have the same calendar as that of year 2003? Answer this. We have calendar of 2003. Which year would have the same calendar as that of year 2003? Answer this. over it. You can answer this question by using the concept of odd days. Once the odd days comes out to be zero, because a non-leap year has one odd day, a leap year has two odd days. So 2003 is a non-leap year, only one odd day. 2004 is a leap year because it divisible by two, it has two odd days. 2005 is a non-leap year, one odd day. 2006 non-leap year, one odd day. 2007 non-leap year, again one day. So is it coming out to be seven? The moment the odd days are seven, it becomes zero. 3, 4, 5, 6. At the moment, we have only six odd days. If it's 2008, it comes out to be a leap year. That's the problem now. So it has two odd days. If the total is coming out to be how much? 8. So 7 wasn't there. Then 2009, again non-leap year, one odd day. 2010, non-leap year, again one odd day. 2011, non-leap year, again one day. 2012 is a leap year. It would be two odd days. So far it is 8, 9, 10, 11, and 213. 2013, it will be non-leap year. So one odd day, that means 14. 14 odd days means 2 weeks. So odd days will be zero. So the year 2014 would be, because after 2013 we are getting 14 days.